With Whiteside County. Good to see you, Dave.
Hey, good morning.
Beautiful day out there.
Oh, it's great. I did have a little frost yesterday.
Did you really?
Yeah, at my place, and then I was out on a farm early, and there were patches of frost out there, too. So it got somewhere into the 30s.
This weather has been incredible, though.
Oh, yeah. If you go outside at night, too, you can see every star and constellation in the sky. It's amazing. I live out in the country, so there's not a lot of light pollution, and man, it's just amazing how clear it is, and that's why it's getting cold too, of course.
Exactly. Squirrel season.
Yeah, in Illinois, squirrel season has started. It's well underway. Part of the problem with squirrel hunting, and I used to do it as a kid all the time. I'd shoot 50 squirrels every fall, and we'd eat every one of them. But a lot of people archery bow hunt now, so getting a place to hunt that's private is tougher and tougher. Nobody wants you in there squirrel hunting when they're out bow hunting. So, but there is quite a bit of public ground around too, both on the Iowa and Illinois side that you can take advantage of it. Check the regulations if you can use a 22 or not. Some of the state sites are real picky on that, and they only want you using a shotgun. So, but it's fun. The meat is delicious. And you'll have a good time if you haven't tried it before.
I got plenty of squirrels in my backyard.
Yeah, I do too.
I don't think I can shoot them. I got a walnut tree, so they're busy.
Yeah, me too.
Archery deer season.
Yeah, and actually, there's a couple reasons why I brought that up. One, archery deer season's open. I helped a guy drag out a doe he killed the other day, and I helped a lady track one that she made kind of a bad shot on, and it wasn't a fatal shot. And I'm sure the deer is going to recover, but so that's going on. That leads me to another topic too, though, and I think I heard it on your state news. They were talking about deer movement.
Yeah.
With the harvest going on, archery season's going on, and the bucks are getting itchy. So even though the full breeding season hasn't hit yet, and it will in about 3 weeks, but they're moving big time. I'm starting to see does and fawns laying on the side of the road that have already been hit, and it's a little early for that, but they are moving. And with this early harvest, if we don't get any rain in the next 10 days, harvest is going to be done. And that cover they were utilizing in those cornfields, like the biologist from Iowa said, they're moving into the wooded areas now. And when they move, that's a transition. And when you got, Illinois got somewhere around 500,000 to 600,000 deer, and I think Iowa's right up there too. So when you got that many animals moving off and on, especially in the dark, look out.
Well, they move on 13th Avenue North here when I'm coming up the hill at about 5 a.m., so I always keep an eye out on them.
Well, that area around the hospital has been famous for deer for years. And at one time, I think the city, were they allowing bow hunting in there?
Yes.
I thought so.
In the area, but I don't think they do that any longer.
Yeah, that deer herd up there is nasty because they run right through the yards, they use the yards, and then there's those wooded draws right next to the housing. And, they're stacked in there.
Drought. There is no we got all that rain early, and now we could use some of it.
Yeah, I was down over the weekend. I was down in north central Missouri, and they're as bad as us, if not worse. It is bone dry down there. Even some of their ponds, and they've got a lot of clay in their soil down there. Some of their ponds were starting to dry up, which is really unusual down there. But around here, we're getting real close to a drought condition. We're extremely dry right now. And I don't know if it's Channel 8, I think you guys use as a weather.
Right.
The guy on Channel 8 in the morning does a real good job with the drought monitoring. And we're going from yellow, and I'm starting to see tinges of brown on the edges. So, I suspect if we don't get any rain here real quick, next spring is going to be real tough on the ag producers and people with yards and gardening and that too. So
kind of leads us to our next topic, fall burns.
Yeah, I know Clinton County put a burn ban in place, I think this week, which was very wise. When you still got a lot of standing corn out there, even though the harvest has been going quick. The worst thing you could ever do is start a cornfield on fire. It's horrible. You cannot get that thing out. The best thing you can do is get a tractor and a disc and try to disc a fire break in, and then come in from the sides with the water and knock it down that way. But normally what I've seen as far as fires in cornfields, a lot of them are caused by burn barrels. On a real windy day, low humidity, high winds, somebody's out burning garbage and blows into the cornfield and off it goes.
I have never seen a cornfield on fire, but I can imagine. I can imagine it's just terrifying.
I've had to put out a few fields that were already harvested, and that's tough. So when you have standing corn, it looks similar to a mini forest fire out west. And it gets a life of its own, and it just keeps spreading, and it almost forms its own wind, too.
Oh, that would be,
yeah. So be careful.
Yes.
We had a couple fall burns scheduled, and we've put them off until we get rain. So we may not get them done until spring. I don't know.
Fall tree care.
Yeah. We were talking about deer. Well, right now, folks, you got a double whammy as far as deer getting on your trees and shrubs. They're going to eat them. The fawns and the does come through. They'll eat them at night. But then the bucks are going to start rubbing really heavy here real quick, if they haven't already. And if you got about a 3 to 4 year old tree sitting out in the middle of your yard, don't be surprised if you don't get up in the morning and find it all rubbed and girdled. So there's some things you can do, though. The best thing is to either put a cage or a plastic tree tube around it, and that way the bucks can't get at it. You can use some of the sprays, and that will keep them from eating it, but I don't know. The bucks are pretty determined this time of year. And what they're trying to do is they have glands on by their eyes and at the base of their antlers, and they're rubbing that glands on those trees. So it does two things. They're aggressive right now, and they get that energy out of them, but they're also leaving that as a signpost. So the best thing you can do is actually put a cage around the tree or shrub, and for sure they won't get at that. But you can also spray them too if you don't want a cage out there in your yard, but I don't know, it may or may not work. Good luck.
Coming up the hill the other day, I saw a buck, and it had a pretty impressive rack on it. I was amazed.
Right.
It was probably like maybe an 8-point or something like that.
Sure. Well, I've seen them right out here by the prairie. There's that little prairie right across the street here. I've seen them coming out of that, and they run back over here to this little timbered fence row. So, yeah, they're around. Deer are very adaptable animals. They're skittish, but they can live around humans very well as long as they're not being harassed or bothered. And they'll get into your landscaping. If they can, they sure will. It's food for them, and like I said, it's a good place for the bucks to leave signposts, too. So.
Again, visiting with Dave Harrison. Conservation education.
Yeah. Besides just working out on the land, one of the things my business partner and I work with a guy that's, it's going to sound weird, but he's a retired art teacher. But he's worked on conservation projects for the last 30 years, and I got to know him that way. So I took him on as a partner. And one of the things we did, his mother, who recently died, unfortunately, was in a nursing home for a number of years. And Jim works at a nature center in Dixon, Illinois. So he's doing conservation education all the time, and I did it as a profession for a long time too. But what we decided to do is go into nursing homes and give sessions for these folks, and it's amazing how appreciative they are. And the administrators always want something new for these folks, because you're sitting there all day and it's boring, and they ask questions, they're attentive. We've had up to 40 or 50 residents at one time for some of these sessions. And basically we talk about hawks and owls and eagles. And we'll bring examples in and make sounds and stuff like that. But it's really cool how they respond to it. But that's one of the things. I've been working with nature centers both in Fulton, Illinois and Dixon, Illinois. And I know the Clinton County Conservation Board at their centers. In fact, one of the people that used to work for me, Hannah, works at one of the centers now here in the county, and I know she does a lot of youth and adult education too. So there's opportunities around, folks. Check it out. And finally, we finished up a 4th grade day up in Savannah with 3 counties. I think we had somewhere in the neighborhood of 400 4th graders. And it's fun because we divide them up into 3 sections, and then they have each section has 7 different speakers in it, and the kids have 20-minute sessions during the day at each one of those sessions, or at one of those sections.
Sounds like a lot of fun.
It is.
Kind of break up the school day for them.
Oh, yeah, and for a lot of those kids, it's the only time they really get to go outside and learn about nature. We get a lot of kids from Sterling and Rock Falls, and, those kids say, well, this is the first time we've been at a state park. And it's a shame, but if at least we're giving them an opportunity to get out there, and you never know who you're going to influence somewhere down the road.
Exactly. Spring turkey permits.
Yeah, the first lottery in Illinois is ongoing right now, and I believe you have to have your application in if you're going just for a regular application, not a landowner's permit. You have to have that in by the end of the month. And if I'm not mistaken, there's 3 different lotteries, but try to get in the first lottery because you have a better chance of getting the permit location you want in time.
Kind of leads us into fall turkey season.
Yeah, that's coming up. The 19th, same day as duck season opener, so I got a little bit of a problem there. But anyway, in Illinois, they do have a fall shotgun season where you can take anything. It doesn't have to be just a bearded individual. It can be a hen, too. And I've got one poor guy that runs a nursery who wants me to hunt. Had a plastic roofed greenhouse, and the turkeys got up on it and slid down it with their claws and just shredded the plastic. And then he had an owl come and do the same thing, so I kind of feel bad for the guy, but he was begging me to hunt, so I said sure. And I got my 2 permits, so I'm going to give it a shot. I've never hunted fall turkeys before, so this will be an experience.
How's it different from a spring?
Well, they're not breeding. So it's a whole different thing. It's more like it's a group dynamic where the hen will have a group of other hens with her, and then one of the males will have a group of jakes, which are young males, and gobblers with him. So you're basically trying to get them to come to a call, like a gathering call. So that's where it's different. They're looking for food and company versus breeding in the spring. So like I said, I've never done it before. I've been listening as I've been squirrel hunting, though, to the turkeys as they come around me. So I think I learned a little bit that way, at least. So we'll see. I'll report next month.
Do that. Native seed and deer protection.
Yeah, if you're interested in some native seed planting, which you can do it in the winter too, or if you're looking to protect your trees like we just talked about, you can give Blake a call at the SWCD office in Morrison. I know they have tree tubes, they've got spray-on, and I think they've got crystals too that you can shake around your landscaping too for deer deterrence. So, but yeah, give him a call. He'll be glad to help you if he can. So.
Well, we got a couple more things. You're doing a great job of getting through everything.
Well,
and you said you wanted some things.
Yeah. We were talking about weather. I've got a sister-in-law that lives in Lansing, North Carolina, which is in the far western part. And she called us, and we called her too, right after that hurricane went through, and she said it looked like a bomb went off there. They have a little town. Lansing is a town of maybe 300 people way up in the mountains. And there was a creek that ran right next to Main Street. It basically wiped Main Street out. And she said that she's about an hour from Bristol, Tennessee, where the big racetrack is. And a lot of times there's a music festival there, and we've met her several times there. And the highway to Bristol is gone. There was about a 100-yard stretch just gone. And they still haven't gotten to all the valleys out there to try to find out if people are still alive because the roads are wiped out. And she said she had power after about 4 days. The neighbor had an extra generator, luckily, and brought that into her, and she was able to at least keep her freezers and refrigerators going. But she said it was horrible out there.
Oh, man, I cannot imagine.
They were talking feet of rain. Instead of inches, it was like feet. And, you're in those mountains, and there's no soil, basically, and the water all runs off. So that's what happened. One other thing before we go, I think we've just got a minute or so.
Yeah, go ahead.
There's been some reports of an elk roaming around. I don't know if you heard, it was in DeWitt for a while. Now it's made its way down to Davenport. And apparently it's a wild one. It looked like a 3 to 4 year old male with a really nice set of antlers on it. But it's just kind of roaming around. It looks like it may be following the Wapsie a little bit. And
I had heard of one in the Iowa City area.
Well, that's another one. And I heard a report from IDNR that they said they think there's anywhere from 4 to 6 of them in the state right now.
And they're big.
And they're very big. The ones I've shot are 700 pounds, the males. Yeah, so be careful you see it. The first video I saw, I think it was a dash cam from a deputy's car where he followed this thing down a street somewhere in DeWitt. And it, just kind of wandered ahead of the car. But they're probably coming out of Wisconsin or Minnesota. That's where or maybe even Missouri, but I think it's from up north because there are established herds up there. So watch out. You never know what you're going to see. Slow down. If it's not a deer, zap an elk, and you don't want to hit an elk with your car.
And I would think not. Do not pet the elk.
Do not pelt the elk. That's right.
David, thanks so much.
Thank you.
You're listening to AM 1340 KROS, Clinton, Iowa.
FM 105.9.
And KROSradio.com.
This is Radio Iowa. The Clinton County Sheriff says 3 people were killed, all children, and 4 people were hurt in a crash Monday between an SUV and a flatbed tow truck. Also on Monday, 1 person was killed when a train collided with a farm tractor in Winneshiek County near Fort Atkinson, though no names are being released in either case. The Des Moines Register is reporting court documents now show the family of a Des Moines police officer will be getting a settlement of more than $5 million after the officer's death in a crash in 2016. While a wrong-way drunk driver hit the squad car, the suit claimed the unsafe intersection was also a factor. With the dry conditions, field fires are becoming more common with the harvest underway. Aside from worries about soil moisture levels, Iowa Ag Secretary Mike Naig says he's getting good reports from farmers.
I'm hearing some really, really strong yields over much of the state.
The USDA says